Welcome to Around the Ozark Spotlight. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the people who live and work here in Southwest Missouri. Those individuals with entrepreneurial spirit who work to better the lives of others or even put pen to paper to write books about the stories and history of the Ozarks and its people. I'm your host, Scott Meier. Almost messed that up. How about that? I'm your host, Scott Meier. Today, we're going to explore the world of successful, and I'll only say it because I think people these days think you expect to say it, local women who own local business. As far as I'm concerned, it could be a female or a male. It doesn't matter to me. But I think in your case, because I've known you as long as I have, I'm excited about the fact that you're in business for yourself. The business is called Apex Drug Screening, and the
That's
owner
one
is
of my
Padgett.
businesses.
That's one of your businesses. That's what I thought. And the owner's Padgett Smith. I was a little surprised at the Apex Drug Screening because I know you got into the trucking business, but I
Yes.
thought it was more about licensing and that sort of thing. But anyway, meet my guest today, Padgett Smith. Hello, Padgett. How are you?
Well, hello, Scott. I'm fabulous.
And I've had the good fortune of knowing Padgett now for almost a decade. And she's been a lot of things to a lot of people. But before we get into that, uh, let's talk about who Padgett Smith is. And who are you? Are you a local gal or are you from somewhere else?
Well, I have lived in Missouri the majority of my life. Won't tell you what year I moved here, but it's the majority. I claim North Carolina is where I'm from. So
Okay.
we moved here many years ago, and I'm here. My mom is here, my family's here,
Okay.
and I've just decided to stay. And now I own businesses here. So I would say that
Were,
it is my current home. It's just not where I'm from.
were you a military brat?
Was not. My
Okay.
parents spliced telephone cable back in the days when we had all of the landline phones.
Sure.
We went all over the country, and they followed the work. So it was like I was a military brat. We moved a lot, but
Hmm.
that wasn't the story. It was telephone work.
So your mother and father met in that business, or they
Yes,
just decided
they
to go into
did.
business splicing telephone wire?
No, they met at I don't remember what the telephone company's name was, but
Sure.
my dad was out in the field and she was in the switch circuits, or I don't know what they call them, but that's
Yeah.
how they met, and they moved all over to follow the work. So,
Okay. So you
yeah.
went to high school here, I take it, grade school and high school.
Yes, yes. That's why it's the majority of my life.
Which high school?
So I graduated from Mountain Grove, and I moved to Willard in 2000 and have been in this area since. So
Okay.
currently I live in Springfield.
Okay. And did you do any college?
I did. I graduated from Missouri State. I did not do things in the correct order. I went to school later in life,
Okay.
and got an accounting degree in 2013. So I started when it was SMSU and finished when it was MSU.
Right.
So,
Sure. No,
yeah,
that I think almost checks your box for being a local. I
yeah,
think that gives you enough time here, certainly with the MSU background. That's not a
right,
bad
right.
thing. So
No,
you're an
it's not.
accountant. Now most accountants I know are trite introverted, and I hardly see you as being an introvert. Explain that a little bit. Why accounting?
Um, well, because I went to school late in life, I actually went to school because I got passed over for a job promotion because I didn't have a degree.
Mm,
And then my dad was like, "I told you you needed to get a degree." And back then that's not what I did. So, um, decided to put myself through school, and at the time I was working at O&S Trucking, and they did tuition reimbursement. So I capitalized on that and went to school and worked
mm,
and raised my son, and picked accounting, not because I had a big interest in accounting, but I figured that it would serve me later in life. Everyone needs a bean counter. And then after I did it, I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to further this. I don't want to I don't want to be a public accountant. That's not what I want to
sure.
do." So, I have it. It's helped me considerably in owning my own businesses.
Hmm.
And but no, I do not fit the stereotypical accountant, because I am very extroverted, and but that's what I picked. So accounting is what I went with.
Where does the drive come from, Padgett?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I
Do
don't
you have
know where it
siblings?
comes from. I do.
Do you
I
have,
have an older brother. He is in Memphis. So
okay.
he joined the military at 18,
Hmm.
and I would have been 9. So there's 8.5 years difference between us, and he's been gone. Like,
Sure.
I mean, I didn't grow up with him, but he retired military, and now they live in the Memphis area. So I don't know where my drive came from, um, but I'm just always like, it's, I'm tenacious. I just keep going. So yeah.
So, was the expectation for you to do the military thing when you graduated from high school?
It wasn't expected, but funny story. I thought I would because my brother was military, and I
Hmm.
remember he's like, just go up to MEPS and figure out what job they're going to give you. But you don't have to. That's all you need to do. Just go and explore. Well, the recruiters had a much different expectation of me. And so I went to MEPS, I qualified. I was like, yeah, I might want to do something. And they're like, oh, no, no, you're swearing in. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Oh, really?
And I drove, they brought me back and told me that I would never be anything in life. I mean, they did I mean, I don't want to say that all recruiters do that, but the one that I was
Yeah.
with did. And I was like, Sean, you didn't tell me that I was supposed to swear in. And he's like, oh,
Hmm.
they were just really, they needed you to. And I'm like, so it, military was never for me.
Hmm.
And Scott, you've known me for a while. I don't like to be told what to do, and I would not have done well in that setting. So I explored the option and realized really quick that that wasn't the route for me. So
What is MEPS? I'm not familiar with the.
it's their I don't know what it stands for. It's when you, I don't know.
It's when they get their hands on you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
how long ago was that?
Oh, I was 18.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
and
I decided I
so,
would go that route, and no.
uh huh.
Mm-mm.
But right away they wanted to sign you up. Was that
Oh, yeah.
what was that at a time when they were struggling like they are now with recruits?
I don't think so, but I think that, I think that that's the recruiter's expectation. If they're gonna drive
Hmm.
you to Kansas City, they're gonna enlist you, and then
Sure.
they're shipping you out pretty quick. I just didn't know that that's what was happening, and, because I was just going up there to check it out and see what it was about, not to sign my life away to the military,
Sure.
so no.
My guest today on Around the Ozark Spotlight is Padgett Smith. Padgett, a local business owner, owning many different businesses. I find out now. When I got to know Padgett, you were in sales, so you went from the trucking business at that time directly into sales.
Yes, the running joke in the trucking industry is you never escape it. I did, or I thought I did, for 5 years. I went
Hmm.
to Aflac, and that isn't exactly how you and I met, Scott, but that's what I was doing at the time we met.
Sure.
And this opportunity with the permit shop came to be because Paul was one of my insurance clients, and he was ready to retire. So just really out of nowhere, he was like, "Would you like to buy my business?" And I was like, "Wow!" I that was
Sure.
nowhere. I wasn't prepared. I was living my best life being in
Right.
Aflac District, and then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it changed everything. I mean, it changed everything for everyone. But for
Hmm.
me, being behind a screen was not effective. I needed to be with the people. So I called Paul and said, have you decided when you're going to retire? And he's like, yeah, I actually, pretty soon. So I stepped in and bought the permit shop June 1st of 2020.
Hmm.
And then I thought I was going to be Wonder Woman and be able to do Aflac and the permit shop. And I was very humbled to know that I was not able to do both. And
Sure.
so I stepped down as a district in January of 2021 and still carried a pretty large book of business. And then went through 21, realized that I could not do it all again, and
Hmm.
then just have slowly just dwindled down my Aflac business. So, and then in December of 2022, 3 is when I launched Apex, uh, which, I should have learned my lesson that having 2 things to do is difficult, but the businesses very much complement each other. So it's why I opened up and so have both the permit shop
Sure.
and Apex drug screening.
Now, you mentioned a son in there somewhere.
Do
Let's
have a
talk about
son.
him a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't believe I've ever met your son.
Yeah.
Um,
I do have a
what's he up to?
son. He's actually working for me here at the permit shop. And I have a granddaughter so I've just aged
Congratulations.
myself. Thanks.
No, you
And
haven't. Padgett, I swear to goodness, anybody that watches this goes, how does a 30-year-old woman have a son and a
that's
grandchild?
right.
So,
That's right. Yeah, Scott, this is why we're friends.
yeah.
But yeah, so he works here, and I did not really know that the grandparent life was going to be so great, and
hmm
I could not be more in love
What do
with
they
her.
call you? What do they call you?
She isn't. I think I want to be called grandma, but she's going to
Okay.
call me whatever she wants. So,
Well, my
um,
wife turned into Meemaw with 2 of our grandchildren, not by her choice. It was they couldn't get out Grammy for some reason, and Grammy turned into Meemaw. So there's a
well,
Grammy
see,
and a Meemaw.
yep, and I'm sure she's okay with it
Well,
because they're going to
she
call you what
loves
they
it.
want.
You
Yeah,
you just
yeah,
want your grandchildren to call you once in a while.
that's right. That's right.
That's half the
So
battle. My guest today on Around the Ozark Spotlight is Padgett Smith. Padgett, what's the S? I see Padgett S. Smith, and I wasn't aware of that. What's the S?
it stands for Shannon.
Oh, really? Padgett Shannon.
Yeah.
Well, that's very
Well,
pretty.
yeah.
Okay. Did you ever go by Shannon, or did you always
No.
stick with Padgett?
Only if you're at a restaurant and you don't want to explain to people what you're saying. So you give them a different name or a common name, but I found that they messed Shannon up too. So it's fine. I spell my name almost every time I say it.
Well, Padgett, I've got to say, and one of the reasons it's a great first name because that always helps me remember. Where did that name come from? Because I'm not sure I've ever met another Padgett, and I love the
S-
name. I think it's a great name.
My dad, of course, we have Smith, most common last name.
hmm
His first name was Don, and he had been arrested a couple of times because his name was Don Smith. And so
Sure.
he said if he ever had a kid, uh, the kid was going to have a unique first name. And then he heard Padgett and told my mom that whether I was a boy or a girl, my name was going to be Padgett. And so I got a very unique first name with the most
Mhm.
common last name. And growing up, that's all I wanted to do was change it. And then now that I have it, I'm like, I can just drop the Smith.
Yeah.
If you know
It's
me
a
as
great
Padgett, that's good.
it's a great brand. Now, the conversation about your dad and suggesting that he alone is making that decision sounds an awful lot like somebody I'm talking to.
Yes, yes, yeah. My mom wanted Shannon, and it's my middle name. So I guess,
Okay.
yeah, he did win on that one.
So the acorn doesn't fall far from your father's tree.
No, it doesn't.
Now,
It doesn't.
is he still alive,
No.
or is he passed?
He passed in May of 2023.
hmm
He had stage 4 lung cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry, but he
Yeah,
got a chance to see his daughter grow into a businesswoman.
he did. He did, and he was
Was
most
that
proud.
exciting for him? Was
Yeah.
he excited about that?
Oh, yes. Yes. Very
And,
much.
and unlike a lot of fathers, he didn't hold it inside. He actually told you that.
Oh, yes. Oh, every
Yeah.
time. Every time. Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. We're going to be back in a moment with more on Around the Ozark Spotlight with Padgett Smith. I'm your host, Scott Meier, back in just a moment.
Hey, everybody, it's Ethan and Sarah Forhetz from your favorite podcast, Around the Ozarks in 5. I'm sure you've been wondering, how can I get even more amazing stories, events, and witty banter to start my day?
Well, look no further. Here we are. Sign up for our daily newsletter. You'll have what's going on around the Ozarks right at your fingertips each weekday morning.
Yeah, just go to aroundtheozarks.com, click on the newsletter tab to sign up.
Thanks for listening to Around the Ozarks in 5. We hope to see you in your inbox soon.
Welcome back to the second half of today's Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meier. We've been talking with Padgett Smith. Padgett, owner of a number of things, and only she can tell you exactly what they are, but it appears they have to do now with trucking. So when you decided that you couldn't have your steak and eat it too, with both the insurance business and your new business, what was it like when you backed off being a manager, but still tried to manage that book of business? What was hurting? Was it the book of business, or was it your new business when you bought the trucking firm?
It was both. You only get 100%. So I was halfway doing both jobs. And, at the time I was single. And so I thought I could just work more and get everything accomplished. And that is no way to sustain. And because I don't want to halfway do anything, I just realized that I was dropping both and trying to juggle just wasn't effective. So strategically, we lessened my load in the insurance as I was, doing more of a balancing act with the permit shop. And it was a smart business decision for everybody involved. And so, but then I turn around and I diversified again, but it's different. The two businesses complement each other, and it was much needed. So,
well, as someone who's worked for people for a long time, and now you have people working for you, what were some of the takeaways, good and bad, that you had working for someone that you've applied now that you're the boss?
So working for someone, you do have a different mindset, and you think as an employee that you can solve all of everything that's wrong, because it's so easy, you think, to do. And then being on the actual other side of it and managing employees, what I have found that has worked best for me is transparency. I am high communication with my staff. I am pretty much an open book. And so that was one of my takeaways of being an employee, is that an employee is going to fill in their own version of a story. And rather than wasting a bunch of energy on that, being on the other side, I now take away that story because I tell. So there's no trying to figure out where you're at. So my leadership style is very much of that, of the transparency and communicating, and it really developing that team atmosphere and inclusion, because I can't do all of it, nor do I want to. I want to play to my employees' strengths and put them in the right seats in the right spots. So I learned that as being an employee, and saying all of the things that I thought, well, maybe you should do it this way. Well, now that I have that opportunity, I just share and we just speak about it openly. So it's working. At least.
So when you transferred from the insurance industry then and moved into the permitting company, did you have to go to a bank to get money? Did you borrow from friends and family? Did you just take it from your own account? Or did he hold paper? How were you able to go into your own business that was actually an active business?
Well, so he sold it to me. And, most people plan, I say this, I don't know. Most people plan to buy a business, plan to get married, plan to have children. Buying this business, it just came out of left field for me. I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't looking for it. And so I wasn't prepared to step in and buy. And so Paul originally said, well, I'll just owner finance you. And so we did that. I've learned a lot of things about SBA loans over the years and the things to do and not to do. I probably should write a book about that.
You probably should write a pamphlet at least. I've been down the SBA road. Well, I've personally been down the SBA road too, and it's a journey.
It is a journey. Yep.
Yeah.
I learned really quick. So the first year he carried me, he decided he didn't want to carry the note anymore. So my first lesson in an SBA is that you can't refinance for 24 months. But I didn't know
Hmm.
that. And so I was like, you either have to carry me another year or you get your business back. So we did that. And I will say, because I was knowing I was going after an SBA loan, I can honestly say it was the easiest loan I've ever done in my life. But
Okay.
I had really great lenders and I was prepared. So, and maybe my accounting background helped with that too, but it truly was the easiest loan I'd gone through. And then shortly after that, so I bought Paul out and went with the SBA loan. I wasn't far from thinking that I wanted to open up Apex. And we were originally located in the PJC building up on Kansas and 44. And I wasn't able to open up a drug screening business with a community bathroom. So that is what prompted me to move locations.
Okay.
And so where I'm at currently now, which is at 65 and Sunshine, the building that I'm in, I stepped in and started leasing it in March of 23.
Hmm.
And then in July of 23, I purchased the building. So, which has allowed me to house both the permit shop and
Sure.
Apex drug screening in the same building. So
Congratulations.
well, thanks.
That's
So
a
I
big
didn't,
move.
it is a huge move.
Yeah.
But you can either pay someone else's lease
Hmm.
or
Or pay yourself, right?
pay yourself.
Right.
So, and that was another opportunity that presented itself, and it has just
Mhm.
worked. So,
Don't you think sometimes that it was meant to be? I mean, with your think about it. You have a background in the trucking business. Not
mhm,
everybody can certainly say that. Obviously,
right?
there's a lot of truckers and trucking companies in and around the Springfield area, but uh, uh, and lo and behold, years after, the opportunity was in trucking, and of all things,
Yes,
permitting. And was
yes.
permitting something? Did you when you get out of bed in the morning, do you go, "It's a great day to be in the permit truck, the truck permitting business," or is
I-
it just something you felt you could really run with?
Well, so no, I never aspired to be a permitting service. That was not something that was. And to be honest, Scott, most people don't even know that a business like this even exists. So
Okay,
when I took over from Paul, I said, "Oh, I'm just going to shout this from all of the rooftops," because I thought we were the best kept secret in Springfield.
hmm,
And of course, you can't just jump out of the gates and start advertising, right? I really
sure,
needed to get my footing and know what I needed to do before I started shouting. And so um, uh, I I absolutely love what it is that I do. Like, and I am in love with this business. And the
hmm,
reason of that is because I get to help drivers who are out there just like me trying to make a living, but I get to help them along the way. Because in the trucking industry, there are so many rules and regulations
hmm.
that y they may know how to drive the truck, but they don't know all of the back end things. So that's where I come in and I get to consult and I get to help them uh, be as successful as they can. And so for me, I never thought that the permitting service was something that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Didn't know that it existed, but um, it's very much needed.
So,
It's a very much needed thing.
so the business is working not so much with the high-profile companies as it is working with what, independent drivers or independent, in some cases, independent contractors, right? They own their own truck,
Yes.
and then
Yes. So
they.
not every driver is a candidate for the services that I provide here at the permit shop. So
Hmm.
what I'm looking for is a trucking company, a single owner operator who maybe has their own authority or wants to have their own DOT and authority. That's my sweet spot. So I can handle a single owner operator, and then I have a client that's 500 plus trucks.
Hmm.
So it doesn't really matter the size. What matters is what is their need and what can I help them with. What I do know is that after COVID, we lost a lot of employees, and a lot of businesses will outsource the services that I provide rather than
Mhm.
having someone on staff. So it works, and we are. I bet we have 1,500 customers. So, I mean that's a lot.
You're
And
busy.
I'm not just in Springfield.
Mhm.
We service many states. I should have probably been prepared to answer that question, even though you didn't ask it, as to how many states that we're working in. But the one thing that most of my clients will say is, "Man, I sure didn't know that you were there, and I wished I would have known about you sooner."
Sure.
So that's what fills my cup of,
Okay.
but nothing
Now
in my trucking background prepared me
mhm.
for this.
So you've
Nothing.
learned as you've gone. I mean, it's learning as you go, if you will.
It is learning. Paul, because this was his baby, this was his
Mhm.
business for 45 years. Um, it was important that the handoff to me was going to go seamless for his customers, and I mean, just for everyone involved.
Mhm.
And he sat with me for every day for 3 months, and then was always available for any question that I had. So, um, I I got to learn by the man who, I mean, it was his business. I got to
Sure.
learn next to him every day. And then because the rules and regulations change so often, I just have to make sure that I'm up to date with all of it, so then I can
Mhm.
share it with my clients. So,
Now, where did you see the opening that drove you into going into the drug screening as well?
because, in the DOT world, the drivers have to be a part of a consortium where they have to do random drug tests, and I kept referring that business out, and I
Mhm.
said, I would love to have a one-stop shop. Rather than referring all of this business out, I could just open my own business, and
Mhm.
my clients could just be right here. I can handle all of that. And so, I my transparency to you is I had no idea what I was doing,
Sure.
but it didn't stop me from learning it. And there was a need. My
Mhm.
clients had a need, and so that's what launched Apex.
Well, it sounds like the perfect need and the perfect way to fill it. Uh, Looking back, well, let me get into one other thing because you touched on employees since the pandemic. How many physical employees do you have that are in an office at this point?
So there are 5 of us in this
Okay.
office currently. Apex, being in this office as well. I have 1 designated employee for Apex, and
Okay.
then, there are 4 of us on the permitting, side. So 5
So,
total.
the nights that you lay in bed worrying about things like payroll, is that still an issue, or are you way past that now?
Actually, those aren't the things that keep me up at night.
What
I
does?
I mean, the things that probably keep me up at night is, making sure that I've delivered on the service that someone
Okay.
has entrusted me. Um, I do a lot of work in my sleep. Did, did I uh, get a DOT PIN number, or did I make the
Sure.
filing? We do a lot of services here, and every client that I have has a different need. They might all have the same things that they need, but they're all different. So,
Sure.
um, yeah,
No,
deadlines keep me up at night.
well, and your new life probably keeps you up at night as well, I hope. Recently married.
Yes. Yes, recently married.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Funny story, and Scott, you know this,
You've
'cause
you've
we
only
saw
got
each
30
other.
seconds here. You're gonna have to you're
Well,
gonna
I
have to tell
married a
it quickly.
Smith. I married a Smith, and he took my last name. So that's the
That's wild.
story.
Okay. But his middle name isn't Shannon, I bet.
No, it's not.
Oh, well. Well, you can always work on that. Well, congratulations to you there.
Thanks,
Anybody that's
Scott.
hearing our show that happens to be in the trucking business, and I'm sure there are some, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can call 417-833-3355 or visit our website, permitshopinc.com.
Okay, permitshopinc.com. And if they
Correct.
needed the drug test, do they go through Permit Shop Inc. or do they go
They
to
can
Apex?
call Apex Drug Screening 417-290-2980. or apexdrugscreening.com.
Well, thanks for sharing. I've learned a ton, and I hope our audience has as well. I want to thank my guest today for being on Around the Ozarks Spotlight. Also, my producers, Taylor Dempster and Jay Stevens, as well as all of you for joining us. If you happen to miss all or part of today's program, you can always find ATO Spotlight on the AroundTheOzarks.com website, Facebook, Instagram, or X, and our new app for ATO, which can be found in the Apple Apps or Android App Store. I'm Scott Meier. Remember, every day is a gift. Keep the faith.